What's going on, you guys? Welcome on back to the channel. Now, after what feels like such a long wait, we're finally back with more ReZero Season 4, and can I just say, man, this was honestly such a great episode. Even though this was a setup episode, this was what I view as the calm before the storm for the rest of the season, where this episode was so good at laying the foundation for everything that's about to happen throughout the rest of the season, and because of that, everything that happens in this episode I feel like is going to be a ripple effect that takes us throughout the rest of the season. So, without further ado, man, let's get into it. Let's talk about this brand new episode of ReZero Season 4. So, first things that I want to talk about is essentially the very first scene that takes place within this episode, whereas we get Subaru picking up right where we left off last time, saying, "I'm back." And that's when you see Emilia, Beatrice, and Patrasche all essentially swarming around him to see if he's okay. Emilia looking concerned, Beatrice is all concerned. And what I like about this scene too, and what makes it such a good scene, I've said it before, but Subaru in this scene, you're able to see him essentially succumb to his emotions and like become overwhelmed by them because throughout all the previous loops of this version of Subaru, he's viewed all of them as enemies who want to kill him, and he hasn't trusted any of them throughout for the essentially the whole first half of the season or near the tail end of it. But after everything that happened in the last loop, he now is able to understand and come to terms with the fact that he has relationships and bonds with everybody in this party that he has, right? He has them with Emilia, he has them with Beatrice, he has them with Julius. Nobody is there to kill him. They're all his friends and they all have different dynamics and emotional bonds with each other. And now that he's able to finally realize that and understand that, you're able to see him become so overwhelmed with his emotions here. Like you see him lock eyes with Beatrice and you see him just become overwhelmed with emotion seeing her again because the last time he saw her, she died in his arms, protecting him from the blast. And oh man, it's just so good. Like you see him start crying in her arms. And what's so good about the scene too is that Beatrice understands that he's in some type of emotional turmoil. She just doesn't understand what's going on. But you get to see her like hold him closer, and you get to see her just be like, "What's wrong, Subaru?" Like in such like a like calming manner. That was so good. And then you get to see Emilia come over and hug him, and then Patrasche also coming around and like being a supporting figure in that moment. And can I just say, I love that they had Patrasche there for that scene. It would have been so easy for them to take Patrasche out of the scene and essentially have her be a non-factor. But I love that they included her because at this point in the narrative, Emilia, Beatrice, and Patrasche are the three women women within Subaru's life that are the most important to him, right? So the fact that they're all here, like here for him in this moment, like when he's at his lowest and he just wants to cry, like and he wants to just give into his emotions and cry, it means so much. And when you see, and another little detail that I love too is we get a shot of first Emilia like clasping onto Subaru's hand, but even though Subaru moves away, he then goes and puts his hand on her hand, kind of like as a way to like give back those feelings, right? And show that he's so grateful for her being there. He is essentially wanting to move forward. That's what this scene is, in my opinion. It's this version of Subaru, like realizing that he cares about these people and wants to move forward. Now, moving on from that, can I just say I'm so glad they didn't change the opening at all because for the first half of season 4, we were seeing so many things from the opening and like a lot of them weren't correlating to the season at all. So I was always wondering, when are we going to see a lot of this stuff? Well, now in Cour 2, we're probably going to see all of it. Like we're going to see all the stuff with like gluttony and all that. We're going to see so many more things. So now I'm glad that we have this opening, and because not only is this the best opening, but now all of it's going to correlate to this half of the season, and I can't wait to see how this is all executed. It's going to be awesome. But after that, after we get the opening, we then move on to the scene where Subaru tells everybody that he's lost his memories. But what was so good about this scene and how it's effectively changed the entire structure of the loop is that before he goes to the meeting, he clues Emilia and Beatrice in on the fact that he's lost his memories. This is so important to the entirety of this conversation because the last time this happened, like, it was just emotional turmoil everywhere. Like, Emilia was distraught, Beatrice was distraught. Like, that the whole party essentially splintered because Subaru is essentially like the emotional center and the emotional core of this entire group. So Subaru losing his memories effectively breaks the entire thing apart. But now we have Emilia and Beatrice here to essentially serve as people that, like, one, are very close to Subaru, and two, because they're also agreeing and talking about this, everybody's able to come together and realize, okay, yes, this is something that's actually happening. Like, how do we go forward, right? Like, how do we proceed from this? Like, that's what I like. The fact that he clues them in. And it also shows that Amnesia Subaru is not operating by himself anymore, right? He's cluing everyone in and he wants to be able to move forward as a group because, like I said, he's grasping the fact that he has bonds and emotional connections with these people. And that makes the scene even better. I love it. But one person who you could tell still isn't buying it is Rom. And Subaru knows this, right? Because you see Rom during the scene itself, or her being like, what's this farce? Like, why are you saying all this? And like I said, Emilia and Beatrice essentially have to reiterate to the group that it's true because if Rom is essentially saying like, why are you lying? Like, she's calling it out in front of the group. Like, Julius and Echidna would essentially start to like doubt it as well. But because Emilia and Beatrice are there to essentially like keep everything from boiling over and the group from splintering, that's essentially the difference maker there. But Subaru knows that that wouldn't be enough to convince Rom, even though he had Emilia and Beatrice in his corner, basically like corroborating the story and corroborating the fact that he's lost his memories. He knows that isn't enough for Rom. Ever like throughout the entirety of the past loops, he knows that isn't enough for Rom because he knows Rom will be spying on him, watching his every move because she doesn't trust him. She doesn't trust him. She doesn't trust what he's saying. She thinks all of it is a ploy. So what does he do? He takes he takes the initiative to invite Rom to go get water, and he takes her to have a private conversation. This is how I like it. This is how I wanted it to be. Not them like, or not Rom springing it on him and it essentially being a surprise. This is them essentially treating themselves as two respectable individuals having a conversation. This was how it was always meant to be, and you get to see them having a conversation about Rom, right? You get to see Subaru reiterate to Rom that he does not remember Rom. He doesn't remember anything. All he remembers is that he has relationships and bonds with everybody here, but he's lost his memories. And Rom still at this point can't take that. And you see her start getting angrier and angrier until she slams him against the wall. And can I just say, man, the voice acting here is so good. Like, this is some of the best voice acting rezero has done in a minute, particularly for Rom. I love this. You can clearly tell the voice actors put their all here. And dude, what I love the most, man, is you can tell just how distraught Rom is, right? Because she knows that Subaru had love for Rem, right? That's the whole reason that they're even here, to get Rem's memories back, or to get everybody's memory of Rem back. And she's so distraught because if Subaru doesn't have these memories, then what's the point of even being here? Because Subaru, like I said, is the emotional tether and emotional center of the group. If Subaru doesn't remember her, then like Rom essentially feels like there's no point to even doing this, right? Like, she feels like all hope is lost in that moment. Like, they're never going to get her sister back. But what I loved, man, was like Subaru like pushing himself off the wall and putting Rom against the wall and essentially giving her a proclamation that he will remember Rem. He will remember everything. He will get her memory back. He'll get his memories back and remember her, and everything will go back to the way it was. That was such a good and moving scene, man. I loved it. But what I loved the most too was after Subaru gives his proclamation to Ram, we see them have a little bit of like a walking scene. And this walking scene is so good because Ram in this moment is talking about like essentially how his feelings for Rem were essentially buried away for a while, but like these feelings are something that will always come back. And as long as they like essentially finish their goal and reach what they need to get and get Rem's memories back, or everybody's memory of Rem back, those feelings will resurface again, kind of like a new day. I like that a lot. That was a really good scene. Rom, in my opinion, like is benefiting so well from the writing here in this core. Like it's just so good, man. They gave her such a good scene, like with the proclamation from Subaru, and this moment where like they you have like this beautiful walking animation and her just talking to Subaru like this. And I also loved the moment where Subaru was like, why would you bring me on this essentially like trip here? Like why would you bring me here? And Rom essentially says what I've been saying pretty much the entirety of this video, and that's because everybody pretty much essentially loves Subaru, right? Everybody loves and respects Subaru, and he's kind of like that this bright, smiling, like just presence within the group. That's why they brought him because he butts himself in everywhere, but they love him for it anyway. I love that moment so much, man. Such a good scene, such a good sequence of events within this whole 4 minute sequence. I definitely didn't talk about everything here, but dude, such a good scene. I highly recommend you watch this one for yourself because they crushed it. They knocked it out of the park. The sound direction, the music that they have in this scene, all of it's just so good. Like, it's perfection. But moving on from that and moving on from the beautiful ROM sequence that we had, we then are back at the staircase. Now, this is some of my favorite stuff within this entire episode because we get Subaru like looking down at the staircase again. And then a cool little thing that they had here, and I thought was actually such a good creative choice, was that as Subaru is looking like down from the staircase, you see him get pushed. But what's so good about this is like it's a flashback, but you can't tell that it's a flashback. Like it's kind of shot like it's happening currently. And then like as he's falling, it then cuts from a flashback. I thought that was such a neat and creative detail. Like I thought that all the progress that we made in this loop was gone, and I thought we were gonna have to do it all over again because I didn't see the runtime of the episode. Like I thought this could have been like an hour-long episode or something, but the fact that they did that, such a good creative choice, man. Like I loved it. That was one of the best choices they made. But what I loved is like Subaru can tell that someone is behind him, and he does his dodge, and he's like, and he catches Meili, and he catches Meili in the act about to push him, and you see him just smile at her, and he's like, let's have a talk about you wanting to kill me. And this is when we get like the best sequence of events in the entire episode because you see Subaru trying to talk to Meili, like essentially like trying to connect with her and finds common ground here because Subaru doesn't blame her for the actions that she's been taking here. He realizes that all of this is because of Elsa. Everything that Meili is doing is because of Elsa. It's because of how Meili feels about her. And it rings true because Subaru says to Meili, like, I'm probably one of only two people alive that could understand really how you're feeling. And that scene just hits, man. I love that so much. What they do with Subaru in this scene is so powerful. Like Subaru here is essentially like he's giving her like a hand, right? He wants to save her. He wants to save her from himself, from herself. He doesn't want her to go down this road, especially because he remembers everything that happened within the past loop and everything that happened between him and Emilia, how he essentially took her life, right? He took her life in the last loop. And I think Subaru feels guilt about that, right? And who wouldn't have guilt about that, right? Because like we even saw it back like at the meeting scene when he was talking to Meili there. Like those thoughts and of everything that happened between them in the last loop are still there. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, he wants to save Meili. He wants to put her on the right path. But when Subaru was trying to connect with her and try to essentially form like some form of emotional tether with her, Meili in that instance jumps, right? We see her jump from the staircase, like because she doesn't want anybody to try to connect with her. And then what we have next is one of the best things in the entire episode. We then get Meili's flashback again, only this time it's not in black and white because we're not seeing it through the book. This time we're seeing it like in color because this is Meili recounting the events of her past. We're not seeing it from the book or anything like that. So we get to see her flashback. And what I love so much about how they're doing the flashback here is we're able to see just how much Elsa completely framed like Meili's life, right? Like she's the one that bathed her for the first time. She's the one that gave her clothes. She's the one that gave her jobs and like pretty much trained her to do everything. So because of this, Elsa became such a big part of Meili's world. So much so that Meili essentially tried to replicate herself from Elsa. She essentially wanted to be her. She started dressing like her. She started acting like her. Her mannerisms essentially started to be the same. Like one instance that I love too is like from the beginning of the flashback, you see her biting Elsa aggressively and Elsa just being like, that tickles. But as the flashback continues and as Elsa becomes such a bigger part in Meili's life, you then see it all culminate here where Meili goes to bite her, but it's not an aggressive bite. She just does like a little gentle bite and she goes nom nom. What I love that so much because it shows just how much like Elsa has pretty much consumed her life, right? Consumed her life and how much Meili wants to be like her. And it's still, and you see it all ring true here, where Elsa basically says, that tickles yet again. And how I view this was Elsa, in my opinion, viewed her as a pet, right? She kind of forged her to like be her pet and be a weapon to help her carry out jobs. But Meili, as someone who was like brought up in the woods with all the mob beasts and all that, this is her first human interaction ever because she was abandoned by her parents. She was raised by the mob beasts. So everything that happens with Elsa, this is her first real interaction with any humans. So what is so good about this is Meili is copying the traits from the only person that she really knows, right? This is why she's become like this and why she's become such a killer and wanted to kill Subaru because this is all she knows. This is all she grew up knowing. Like, especially because of all the stuff of everything that happened in the flashback, right? So, because of this, we then see the flashback end. And like I said, man, that flashback was so good. Like, I could talk about the flashback all day, but we then get to see the fact that Subaru jumped and saved Meili from her fate, right? He used his whip to essentially save her. And Subaru asks Meili, like, is this about revenge? Like, did you want to get revenge on me for Elsa? And what I liked is that Meili said no. Elsa wouldn't want revenge for something that happened to her. But Meili, I feel like, wanted it for herself because, like I said, of how much she saw herself as like Elsa and how much she cared about her and like how much like pretty much like how she replicated her life around her. And what I liked is that she never wanted Elsa to know how she felt. She essentially just wanted to morph into her essentially. And Subaru gets it. Subaru gets like why she was acting like this. And I love the fact that he doesn't blame her for these choices that she's made because this is all she knew, right? This is all she knew. And what's also great about this scene is you can slowly see the ice starting to form. Like you see the ice forming, and that's when you get to see Emilia was here and she was listening to the conversation the entire time. That's what I love so much, by the way, about this loop. Subaru is a genius when it comes to this loop because not only did he clue Emilia and Beatrice in on the fact that he lost his memories, and that way he could have them with him when he tells everybody else about it. But he's now clued Emilia in on the fact that Meili wants to kill him and essentially have Emilia there to help in case anything happens. That is such a good moment. It shows such growth for Subaru as a character. It shows his evolution, how he's gone from not trusting these people and thinking he only wants to kill them, or only they want to kill him, to now essentially him relying on them, him realizing the bonds and the connections that he has with each and every one of them. It's just so good, man. Such a good episode. I love it. But what's even better is after, like, you see Emilia and Meili have this emotional moment where they hug where they hug here. We then get to see, we go back to essentially the meeting room. And what's so good about this scene is not only was you can tell Rom was worried the entire time, but we also get to see how Subaru in this moment, he tells everybody that he doesn't blame Meili and he doesn't want her to face punishment because she essentially is a character that she's like an open book or an open textbook, right? She's a blank textbook, and she essentially just learns everything from what she's seeing from other people, right? So what he wants is for everybody in this group to essentially give Meili better examples to follow, right? Not just the examples of Elsa. And what I liked too was that Subaru also doesn't want Meili to forget Elsa or anything like that. Like, right? Like, because Meili said like she doesn't want to forget Elsa or anything like that because she's still important to her. But I like how Subaru is able to meet her halfway, and he's essentially like, "That's fine, just don't copy all of her habits." Right? That was a good moment. I like that a lot. But yeah, that's essentially now what they're essentially going to be doing now the rest of the season. What I feel like is them trying to give like Meili positive like things to view, so that way Meili can morph into a new person, right? And she can go see these new sights with Emilia, and she can be just a better person, in my opinion. Like getting to learn new things and essentially getting to start over. That is what I liked so much about this moment. This was just such a good moment or a good episode for Meili, right? Like, man, it's just so good. I love it so much. And like everything with Rom too, like where you get to see just how much she truly cherishes Subaru, like with this little smiles that she gives him, like throughout the episode. It's so good, man. This was such a good episode. But what I also loved the most too was when Subaru and Julius had their own little conversation of how him and Julius were essentially the only father figures now that Meili can have, so they have to set a good example. And Julius agrees, and they have that nice little moment there together where you can clearly tell that their friendship is getting back on track. But then we get to the final scene of the episode where we get to see them making their next plans for essentially what they're going to be doing now the rest of the arc. And now we get to see Subaru basically telling them like, let's put getting my memories back on hold for now, right? Like because he feels like that if essentially they hold off on getting his memories back for now and they just focus on clearing the trials and like doing what they set out to do, his memories will come back organically. And I like that. I like that Subaru made that choice, because if they did that, they're just essentially like splitting up their focus and like keeping them from reaching their true goal, which is getting to the end of this tower. So the fact that Subaru made that choice now to not have them divert their attention to getting his memories back, just focus on beating the tower, I love that. And a good thing too that I like here right at the end is what Subaru says here, where Subaru's like, let's go like to the library and see if we can find Reed's weakness, right? Because finding Reed's weakness is pretty much the only way they're going to be able to move forward. And then that's the end of the episode. Bro, this episode, like I said, man, was so good. I know there's probably some stuff that I left out, but this is such a perfect episode from beginning to end. This is hands down the best setup episode that they've ever done. Like, you can clearly tell how everything in this episode could serve as a ripple effect for the rest of the season. I'm just so ready to see how everything plays out, how the rest of the season shakes out, what happens next, like what's going to happen next after this episode. Because like I said, This episode is the calm before the storm, and I cannot wait to see what they do next. But I think that's going to do it for me. I'm so glad to be talking about ReZero again, man. I have missed this show so much, but I also want all of you guys to jump down in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on this premiere. Let me know if I missed anything within this episode, because I'm pretty sure I did. There was so much stuff that happened that I didn't think I could fit everything in one video, but I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, and let me know what you think I missed. And I just want to have conversation again about ReZero, man, because I've missed this. But I think that's going to do it for me. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'm going to see you guys for the next episode. All right, bye.